Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure. It's warming up a little bit today, so I really wanted to get this thing rolling because I need the space. This is the Mint Fourtrax 250 with the seized engine. And if you guys look quickly here, you can see I got the stator side loose, and that's not locking the engine up. So, for some reason on this Mint all-terrain vehicle, I mean, it really looks like it's in nice shape, the engine's seized, and it needs to come off for me to determine why it's seized, how it's seized. In this video, we're going to get the engine off, and then it'll go downstairs. There'll be a second video on, why did it seize. Anyway, about getting the engine off, if you take a quick perusal of the book, and even if you don't look at the book, just from a common sense point of view, right, all the plastic needs to come off, the gas tank needs to come off, I think this bar, the carburetor, the air cleaner, lots of nuts and bolts type wrenching here. So I'm just going to start, and every once in a while the camera will come on and there'll be commentary, just like little things, like those don't look like metrics there. So there is a little hacking. I also noticed stuff, like this. So somebody's kind of putzed around in here a little bit. There's the battery for this rig out back. Nope, on this side. So, disconnect the battery, right, so you don't have a light show as you're removing wires, stuff like that. Anyway, let's get started. None of it looks hard. It just looks like it's going to be a big pile of stuff and lots of loose nuts and bolts. So far so good. I took out these M half-inch bolts here. Right, they go right through here. Then you could see these little tabs slip under here. Try not to break those off. And you work the cables, take the door off, and you work them out of the hole. So that was easy enough. I think they went to Grandpa's nut and bolt jar here. Anyway, I'm just going to grind these, right? I'm not using those again. That's not the right hardware. So let's get those out of there. You want to do this carefully. You don't want to create too much heat and melt the plastic or damage the plastic, but I'm going to take it really slow and careful, and the front fender will be off in a second. They're hacked hardware, made getting those two out difficult. Make sure back here you don't break tabs off also. You guys could see there's one there, one on the other side. Anyway, going to lift that off. Making progress. Next comes the gas tank. They didn't put those bolts back in, so obviously somebody's messed around back here, right? I just have to pop this hose off. There is some gas in the tank, so hopefully that valve doesn't leak. Gas tank off, and now just like a million nuts and bolts, that's all you could do, is take them off one at a time. Got to get the air box out and so forth. Time consuming. Motor mount. So air box, right, 2 bolts, loosen this up. Yeah, that hose is loose. Looks like I just need to push back and bring it up. It's going to be a 2-hander. So I'll take care of that. Looks like the back plastic's also loose. They left it loose. Sometimes I discover these things when I'm driving home and the plastic takes flight, right? Or you look in the rearview mirror and it's doing the flappy thing. Yeah, I always try to double check and, put a rope across the the plastic just to make sure it stays down and the seat gets to ride in the cab. You don't lose a $150 seat more than once before you learn your lesson, or at least I didn't. So the airbox is off, and somebody had fooled around in here, cleaned out the airbox and all, but I think you guys could see what this thing died of. Mice destroyed this engine. Mice caused this engine to seize. There's nothing more corrosive than the ammonia in mouse droppings, mouse urine. So the intake valve must be opened. You can see they nested right there. If you look further into the carburetor, you guys could see it's a mess. Right, you see all the corrosion. And to me it looks like, as I'm working on it, as I'm taking it apart, I'm figuring out pretty quickly that's why it's seized. So I was going to do a video on on why did this engine seize? It's all mint. Well, we figured that out. I guess the video will be, can a mouse contaminated engine be unseized? This, when we pull the head off, I anticipate finding some ugly stuff in there. Boy, that's a shame, because this machine really is mint. I'm going to continue taking the engine off, and as a matter of fact, it looks like somebody was already messing with this. I got that mount. I got these, obviously spark plug wire. I'm going to get the carburetor. I got to unplug things. But this motor is pretty close to coming out. I already undid the exhaust bolts, right? You want to put plenty of penetrant oil on those. The last thing you want to do is snap them off. Boy, that really hurts that that mice did it to this engine. Just quickly, as a sidetrack, just quickly, I have this mouse trap in the garage, peanut butter on that pill container, right? It spins, and right, a ramp, a couple of drops of peanut butter. I've caught over 50 mice with this since I set it up. I mean, I'm averaging, at this point, I'm getting a couple a week, 2, 3, 4 a week. Fresh peanut butter seems to bring them out, but I've whacked over 50 mice. I've had no mice upstairs this year, and none in the basement, just out here in the garage, but 50 mice. So that just gives you an idea how many of them are floating around. I do have feral cats. It's going to be a long video, right? You can see the cat prints, right? But you can also see the mouse prints. So, right, there's your mouse prints, and there's your cat prints. So, you know, I'm doing what I can, right? There's at least 2 feral cats floating around, if not more. And, you know, I'm teaching the mice to swim. But even with that, it's hard to control. This all-terrain vehicle, this ATV, I bought it with a seized engine, so the seized engine isn't my fault, but that doesn't make me feel good about it, and it also worries me, because obviously I have many all-terrain vehicles floating about. Obviously I'm still removing the engine, but this is one of those breather pipes, right? Oops. I think you guys could see the bad news in there. So mice just went right in here, worked their way, and you guys could see more bad news down there. And the carburetor's still hooked to the throttle. You can see that it's all seized up, right? Boy, that's a shame. Guy took care of this thing, kept it in his garage or shed or whatever, and the mice destroyed it. I think you guys could see the vice grips on the bolt for this exhaust shield, right? Getting these bolts out is tough. Most of them just snap off, round out, or whatever. If you put the Phillips in it, you're probably not going to break them loose. But I put the vice grip on it and very gently, you know, got the oil penetrant on there and sprayed them, and you could see this is now loose enough. And by the way, as you make it looser, spray it and go, you know, wiggle it back and forth. Hopefully you can get them loose without breaking them. Same with like these clamps here, right? You spray them and turn them a little, an eighth of a turn, a 16th of a turn, and spray them and work it back and forth, and eventually they come loose without breaking. The trick is to get as much of this apart without destroying it. Boy, that's such a shame. So we're getting there. The top motor mount is out. The front motor mount is now just a matter of getting this bracket off. And they already had this loose. I'm not quite sure why that was loose in advance, but it was, and I guess it makes my life a little easier. When I take these off, by the way, I put the bolts back through them in such a way that they'll go back to right where they were. In this case, they appear to be all the same size, but it cuts surprises later, just in case a bolt is a half an inch longer than one of the ones you just smashed in. And now you got to take it all apart again because you just smashed a bolt in and it's the wrong size. Alright, let me get these off, and then once again the top motor mount is off. It looks like I just have this left. I guess the engine is supposed to slide up. Oh, I got one more bolt down here. Kind of slide up, and that allows you to release this, and then I guess it comes out this side of the frame. This looks like the smaller side of the motor. We'll find out soon, hopefully not the hard way. So I slid the bands off. That's ready to come off. And quite honestly, all I have left is this bolt. I'll get this cable out of the way so I have as much room as possible, right, for it to come out. These things never come out on the first try, and quite honestly they never go back in on the first try. I'm sure there's something I'm going to discover. I just got to slide this bolt out, and theoretically it's ready to go. Let's go with the big theory. I am not going to set up the camera to show me getting it out, because I'm sure I'm going to be twisting and turning and I'll knock the tripod right over. But hopefully in the next few minutes you'll see the engine sitting on the floor here, all ready to go downstairs and opened up. So the bolts are all out and the engine is floating, and you actually have to push this back and disconnect it from the motor there. Okay, you have to push that back and disconnect the splines, or you're not going anywhere, right? You're kind of hung up here and hung up in a few other places. So that's one thing the book doesn't really get very clear about, right? It's probably going to be better to push this back up on here also. That'll probably let it come loose easier. So I'm going through the fight of getting it out, and a few things. You got to get this cable completely out of the way. You got to make sure the carburetor is out of the way. And you guys see this ground wire right here? You kind of want to disconnect that. At this point I got it slid beyond this, so getting it out of here, I'm almost there. As soon as that ground wire is loose, it should come out. There's a few things they don't mention in the book and all to get it out. About getting it back in, that too will be a very, very interesting affair. I've heard some people say they pull the axle out to get them out. Some people say, oh, piece of cake. They go right back in. And other folks say, you know, basically I haven't been able to put it back together because I can't get these two mated up, right? That output stub to the drive shaft. Anyhow, hopefully after that ground wire, that's kind of my last hang up. We're hoping. Okay, you guys could see how I've kind of lifted it and turned the tail away. Now it's to the point where it could drop down. It could get loose from up there and go right to the floor. So I picked the engine up off the floor, put it into the shopping cart, and rolled it on down. And here we have it on one of the carts down in the basement, ready to come apart. I can't believe mice destroyed this vintage machine. It's really a horrible thing. Anyway, I'm going to keep my battle against them going. Once again, it didn't get mouse ruined here. It got mouse ruined in somebody's shed. Somebody who was actually taking care of it. It got mouse ruined there. In the meantime, I think I'm going to take this apart as part of another video. So I want to thank you all for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. Please remember, feet down, heads up, and get out there and work on an all-terrain vehicle today. Bye now.